Hi, it's Lauren. Welcome to my craft room. I'm excited to start another new series on my channel of Halloween cards throughout the year. Now, I know that building up your Christmas card stash is something that a lot of people do, but I love sending Halloween cards. So I thought the last day of every month I would share a fun Halloween card to inspire you. I am using Pretty Pink Posh, the Halloween Wreath stamp set and dies, as well as the Trick or Treat Friends stamp set. I just stamped and colored the two pumpkins as well as the little raven and have already cut everything out and colored to save some time as I'm showing you more an idea for a Halloween card rather than coloring. So we're going to jump into the background. I used a rectangle die to die cut some mixed media paper, and we're going to be doing some ink distressing using the Pretty Pink Posh spider web stencil. I used some Pixie spray because it's a very delicate design and I wanted to make sure it didn't move and I didn't completely mess up my distressing. So I'm going to start with milled lavender and I'm just going to go around the edges of this piece of mixed media cardstock. I want the center of my web to be a lighter color, so I'm just going to go all the way around and coloring up just to the middle of that spider web. So once I'm happy with the color and the distressing of this pretty purple, I'm going to bring out Spun Sugar, and the inside of my spiderweb is going to be pink, and I'm going to blend that into the purple so it has a nice blend between the two colors. So if you can tell from the coloring of my wreath and my pumpkins, I'm going with a more pastel colored Halloween card, which I think is so pretty. But I love the splash of gray and black that will be throughout the card. So I'm going to place my stencil and cardstock into my little splatter box. And I'm getting out some silver silk and just adding a lot of splatter until I'm happy with the look. I'm going to peel off the stencil for the fun reveal, and I love that bright white spider web popping up off of the pastel and silver background. So here you can see the wreath on top. It's going to go around the center of that web, leaving just enough room on the bottom for my Happy Halloween sentiment. And this is from the Trick or Treat Friend stamp set as well. I'm going to emboss it. So I'm going to put it on a clear block and grab my VersaFine Clair in Morning Mist, which is a gray. Again, going for lighter colors here. And I'm going to stamp that on the bottom center of this cardstock. So making sure my stamp is nice and inked. And I'm going to use my grid mat to help me center it. And I'm so worried about not having enough ink. I ink it one more time and then stamp it down. And I'm very happy with how it turned out. And I'm going to use some clear detail embossing powder. This particular one is from Ink on 3 Crystal Clear, and just using a coffee filter to help catch the excess embossing powder. And I'm going to go ahead and pick that up while I warm up my heat gun and then use my heat gun to melt that embossing powder down on my sentiment. So now I can start creating my shaker. I'm using the clay confetti wheel number 4 from Pretty Pink Posh, and I decide to go with the mix that has a lot of those bright colors and a mix of black. So there's some green, pink, blue, yellow, all the colors that I colored in my wreath, as well as some black sprinkles or jimmies in there as well. And so now I'm going to create a shaker window with my wreath. So I grabbed a scrap piece of acetate and I'm just using my large scissors to cut a square, and this will fit behind my wreath, but because my wreath is a circle shape, I'm just going to trim off the corners. So just going in and freehand styling or freehand cutting the corners off of my acetate, so that way it is a somewhat of a circle behind my wreath. I'm going to line up the complete acetate with my 1/8 of an inch double-sided adhesive, and I'm going to peel off all that release paper and attach this to behind my wreath, making sure none of my acetate shows on the outside of the wreath. It's just covering that center part. I'm going to grab my Heffy Doodle extra thick foam adhesive, and these are different strip sizes, and I'm just going to wrap around the inside of my wreath, so kind of creating a circle so that way you won't see any of my adhesive creating the circle on the inside window, but will have enough stability to be my only adhesive of this wreath to my card. So that's why I'm using my thicker foam strips for this. And I want to make sure there are no gaps in my adhesive because I don't want any of my fun little clay bits to accidentally sneak out and my shaker to no longer be a shaker. So once I have all of that down, I'm centering all of my clay bits and making sure they're nice and flat so everything will shake nicely. I'm going to use my grid mat to help me center and then adhere my wreath with the acetate right on top of those clay bit sprinkles, giving it a good shake, and everything seems to be working really nicely. I'm going to adhere my other little elements here, so my pumpkins and my raven or crow, and I'm going to be adding the same foam tape to the pumpkins where they will be touching the background, and then wet glue where they will overlap on the wreath. And I'm going to repeat this for my other one as well. I'm just going to start with gluing my crow or my raven to my pumpkin first, and then I will add that adhesive behind the pumpkin and wet glue behind the bird and adhere that down. Now I was going for lighter of everything, including my sentiment, but because of those black sprinkles, I thought it'd be good to bring in a piece of black cardstock to be my A2 size background. So using some wet glue behind my mixed media paper, I'm gluing this down to the black cardstock. And now I can glue this down to my card base. So I have a top folding A2 card base in white. That way I can stamp a sentiment inside, and I will adhere those together. So now that everything is nice and glued down, here is a final look at my card. I hope you enjoyed this pretty pink Posh Wreath shaker card and it inspires you come Halloween season, or maybe if you're like me, you're also creating some Halloween cards. I absolutely love the soft colors and I'm definitely going to be making more with this color scheme. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!